Rain hammered against the broken apartment windows as 16-year-old Ethan Carter stood silently in the hallway, holding a trash bag filled with his clothes. His stepfather, Rick Dawson, pointed toward the front door with cold eyes. "Get out." Ethan looked at his mother, hoping she would say something, anything. But she stayed quiet. Rick stepped closer. "You eat my food, live under my roof, and bring nothing back. You're useless." Ethan swallowed hard. "I'm still in school." Rick laughed. "Not my problem anymore." Then he grabbed Ethan's backpack and threw it outside into the rain. "You've got 5 seconds." Ethan's chest tightened. His own mother wouldn't even look at him. At that moment, something inside him broke forever. He slowly nodded, picked up the trash bag, and walked into the storm alone. And behind him, the door slammed shut. That night, Ethan slept at a bus station. No money, no food, no plan, only anger. The kind of anger that burns quietly. The dangerous kind. At 3 a.m., while everyone else slept, Ethan stared at the city lights and made himself one promise. One day, they'll regret this. The next few years were brutal. Ethan washed dishes at a small diner before school. After school, he cleaned office buildings until midnight. Sometimes he slept in shelters, sometimes in abandoned cars. But he never stopped moving, never stopped learning. While other teenagers wasted time partying, Ethan watched business videos on a cracked phone during lunch breaks. He studied rich people, how they talked, how they thought, how they built power. And slowly, he changed. At 18, he got a job fixing computers at a tiny repair shop. That's where everything started. One night, a customer came in furious because his company's system had crashed. Employees were panicking. The business was losing thousands every hour. Ethan quietly looked at the system and fixed it in 20 minutes. The customer stared at him. "How old are you?" 18. "You ever thought bigger than this place?" That man's name was Victor Hale, a millionaire tech investor. And for the first time in years, someone believed in Ethan. Victor became a mentor. He taught Ethan business, investing, negotiation. But Ethan had something even more valuable than talent. Pain. Pain made him unstoppable. By 22, Ethan launched his first cybersecurity company from a tiny apartment. People laughed at him. Investors rejected him. One man even said, "You don't look like a CEO." Ethan smiled, because he remembered sleeping in bus stations. This was nothing. He worked 18 hours a day. No vacations. No weekends. Just obsession. And then one day, everything changed. A major corporation got hacked. Millions of dollars were at risk. Ethan's small company was the only one able to stop it. Overnight, his business exploded. News channels started talking about him. Investors begged to work with him. By 27, Ethan Carter became one of the youngest tech millionaires in the country. But despite the money, despite the fame, there was still one thing unfinished. Rick. One evening, Ethan sat inside his penthouse overlooking the city skyline. A glass of water rested beside him. His assistant walked in. "Your Lamborghini is ready downstairs." Ethan looked out the window silently. Then he asked one question. "Do you know where Rick Dawson lives?" The next morning, a black Lamborghini rolled slowly into a quiet neighborhood. People turned their heads instantly. The car alone looked worth more than every house on the street combined. Then the driver's door opened, and Ethan stepped out wearing a tailored black suit. Confident, calm, unrecognizable. A little girl riding a bicycle stopped and whispered, "Mom, is that a celebrity?" Ethan ignored the stares, because his eyes were locked on one house. The same old house, the same door, the same place where his life shattered years ago. He walked toward it slowly, then knocked. Footsteps approached. The door opened, and there stood Rick. Older now, beer belly, wrinkles, tired eyes. At first, he didn't recognize him. Then his face froze. "Ethan." For a few seconds, neither spoke. Rick looked at the Lamborghini parked outside, then back at Ethan's expensive watch, the suit, the confidence. And suddenly, Rick understood. Ethan had won. Rick forced an awkward smile. "Well, look at you." Ethan stayed calm. "I was nearby." Rick laughed nervously. "You should have called." "Come inside." Ethan stepped into the house. Nothing had changed. Same cheap furniture, same stained walls, same smell. Except now, Rick looked small, very small. Ethan noticed unpaid bills stacked on the table. A foreclosure warning. Interesting. Rick cleared his throat. "So what do you do now?" Ethan looked directly into his eyes. "I own a cybersecurity company." Rick blinked. A company? Ethan nodded. It's worth around 300 million. The room went silent. Rick almost dropped his coffee mug. 300 million. The boy he threw into the streets was now richer than everyone Rick had ever known combined. And for the first time in his life, Rick looked afraid. Then Ethan heard footsteps behind him. His mother appeared. Older. Weak. The moment she saw Ethan, her eyes filled with tears. Ethan. He looked at her quietly. Years of pain flashed through his mind. The nights he starved. The winters he froze. The birthdays nobody remembered. And worst of all, the silence. Her silence. She started crying instantly. I'm so sorry. Ethan didn't answer. Rick quickly jumped in. Look, we all made mistakes. Mistakes. Interesting word. As if destroying a child's life was some small accident. Rick stepped closer. You're successful now. That's what matters, right? Ethan stared at him, then slowly smiled. Not a warm smile. The kind that makes people nervous. You really think I came here for forgiveness? Rick's face changed immediately. Ethan reached into his pocket and placed a document on the table. Rick frowned. What's this? A property purchase agreement. Rick looked confused. Ethan spoke calmly. I bought this house yesterday. Silence. Rick laughed. No, you didn't. Ethan slid another paper forward. Official documents. Signatures. Bank stamps. Rick's smile disappeared. You're lying. I'm not. Rick grabbed the papers with shaking hands. It was real. The house was no longer his. He looked completely stunned. You bought my house. Ethan nodded slowly. The bank was taking it anyway. Rick's face turned red. You trying to embarrass me? Ethan took a deep breath, then finally said the words he had waited years to say. No. I wanted you to feel what helpless feels like. The room became painfully quiet. Rick looked furious now. You think money makes you powerful? Ethan stepped closer. No. Surviving you did. Rick clenched his fists. But he said nothing. Because deep down, he knew he deserved this. Ethan looked around the house one last time, then toward his mother. For a second, his expression softened. He reached into his jacket and handed her a small envelope. What's this? She whispered. A new apartment. Her hands trembled. You still care about me? Ethan looked at her with tired eyes. You were still my mother. She broke down crying. But Ethan's face remained calm. Because some wounds never fully heal. As Ethan walked toward the door, Rick suddenly shouted. You think you're better than me now? Ethan stopped. Without turning around, he replied. No. I just became everything you said I never could. Then he walked outside. The cold wind hit his face as neighbors watched silently from their windows. Rick stood frozen inside the doorway, defeated, watching the boy he once called useless enter a black Lamborghini. The engine roared to life, and within seconds, Ethan disappeared down the street, leaving behind the house, the pain, and the past, forever.